Hello there, welcome to Strife's Talking Points. Today I'm just going to do a brief run through of a story I found on CNN. I just went straight to their homepage, popped up the first story. TomBrokaw tries to put out the fire he started with comments about Hispanics. Let's just see what he said.
Controversial remarks he made today about Hispanics and immigration. Listen to what he said during a panel discussion on NBC's Meet the Press.
I also happen to believe that the Hispanics should work harder at assimilation. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. You know, that they ought not to be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all of their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities. And that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly.
Earlier.
Now, that is a horrible thing to say. That's also a great place to pause. Saying that people should assimilate into the country they moved into, to say that it will require outreach on both sides, that people should learn to speak English. Those are pretty much standard things. If you move to France, you should probably learn to speak French. If you move to Japan and you live there, you should learn to speak Japanese. And you should also try and embrace the culture and not live in small sects or groups, which apparently now that is racist. Some journalists on social media quickly criticized Brokaw's comments. Aruna Bogado, investigative immigration reporter, that's an interesting, I'm going to look that one up, arguing classic white supremacist talking points in a deeply racist rant on national television. Now, I don't know if you watched the same clip I did, Aurora. However, there was nothing there. That was a few seconds. If he says it, I hear it. Isn't he saying that this is their argument, not his? It's going to be a bunch of nonsense. Pretty much, it was pretty much a punch in the gut to a lot of people, he said. It's not only factually incorrect, it's also xenophobia in action. Now, xenophobia is no part of that. Learning to speak the language of the country you've moved to, even though the U.S. doesn't have a national language, still the standard language for the country from the founding until today is still English. Factually incorrect. Most Hispanics do live in Hispanic communities. Those who do not typically pay for their children to go to schools, and I believe he's more or less focusing on illegals. I'll give him a pass because he's probably not up to speed as to where things are today and age, especially with young Latinos in this country, she said. She insisted Latinos absolutely assimilate. That is partially true in all ways. Although, again, you're still seeing outrage over a nothing comment, and Hispanics are no less American for embracing their country of origin or that of their ancestors. If you move to a new country, it's because you wanted to take advantage of that country. You wanted to merge, be part of that country, not because you just wanted to make the new country your old country, which is what we're seeing a lot with the way immigration is being thought of these days. That your old country, that you had to leave or that you were getting away from, that had violence, that had poverty, that had all these issues that forced you to get out of it, to move to a new place, to grow, to live, to go somewhere else, to take advantages of the other country. These are no longer seen as reasons why to adopt the new culture. You should move to a country and section yourself off in your own community and only take advantage of the parts of that country that you want, ignoring everything else about the country. I don't really care for it. Conservative commentator Eric Erickson weighed in on Twitter. He said Brokaw's comments on Meet the Press were not something that anyone needs to apologize for. They're truths people do not want to hear. Erickson's tweet was a preview of how this debate is likely to unfold, pitting conservatives against liberals. Yeah, like that's not everything that happens in this country. Here's her. She is basically let's see here. Let's close this down. Investigative immigration reporter, Dodgers fan, developing healthy obsession with genetic testing, molecular tumor mapping, and cancer inequities. This is just wild. And she has a blue check mark. I don't know what she does or is. She has quite a bit of followers. Nah. Moving on, TomBrokaw's offensive comments don't show much understanding of what happens with Hispanics in America. We're assimilating just fine, thank you. A lot of Republicans are unhappy with the rise of the Hispanic community. I don't know whether I want brown grandbabies. I mean, this is all part of it. The intermarriage that's going on in cultures that are conflicting with each other. How strange. They're talking about babies when he's just talking about assimilation. Brokaw went off to offer his own opinion. I happen to believe that the Hispanics should work harder at assimilation, as the Germans, the Irish, the Italians, all the other people who've ever immigrated here melted into the U.S. because it used to be referred to as a great melting pot. Now it's not that anymore. It's one of the things I've said for a long time. Ought not to be codified in their own communities, but make sure that their kids learn to speak English and that they feel comfortable in their communities. So basically, speak the language of the country you moved into and interact with the community, and this will take outreach on both sides. So that's not terrible either. So Stephen King, when Brokaw concerns about having brown grandbabies, he was veering dangerously into Stephen King territory. The infamous Iowa congressman once opinion that the U.S. doesn't need somebody else's babies. It was just a lapse in judgment for Brokaw to relay sentiments that are not only racist but out of date. The U.S. needs to have their own children. They don't need to import children. I would say that should be true because we are perfectly capable of having our own babies. The BBC, the host of Meet the Press, this remark led to criticism of a fellow guest on Sunday's show and social media backlash. Brokaw issued an apology. The veteran newswoman was appearing as a guest on the program to discuss President Donald Trump's attempts to get Congress to fund the U.S. border wall, Mexico border wall. This is us all. He said he was truly sorry for saying people should immigrate to the U.S. and then try and become part of the U.S. rather than trying to turn the U.S. into their own country. I found this very interesting. All right. It started out as a discussion about border security when the former NBC nightly news anchor raised concerns by Republicans over what Brokaw described as the rise of an extraordinary important new constituent in American politics, Hispanics, who will come here and all be Democrats. Hispanics are an odd group because Hispanics are generally Catholic and generally more or less trying to protect themselves and their communities, which puts them at odds with a lot of democratic policies. However, with the current rise in what we refer to as identitarianism, it is possible that Hispanics will stay to the left, mainly because this allows them to get those sweet virtue points and allows them to seek certain levels of oppression, even though in the U.S., legally immigrated Hispanics are essentially rolled in with white people in almost every survey and study. It is only in certain applications that they can be pulled out of and given a higher status for that. Tom Brokaw's comments give credence to white supremacist ideology and are not rooted in reality. They have no place in our political discourse. So what he said is now white supremacist. Reprehends commentary and apology from Tom Brokaw. Oh my lord, the left are attacking people on the left. Tom Brokaw, a celebrated journalist who spent years chronicling American society, you seemingly stunningly ignorant of the Hispanic community of this country. Unfortunate to see xenophobia pass for an elevated political commentary. Again, saying people should assimilate to the country they're moving into is not xenophobic. That's why you moved to the country. With all due respect, I'm one of those little brown ones. You can assure that my grandparents conveyed to me that they loved me and were proud of me before they passed. I have no idea what that means. Your narrative feeds into all that anti-immigrant rhetoric that is happening in this country. This country is against anti-illegal aliens, not anti-immigrants. Diana P. Vasquez, why don't you understand that this is anti-illegal aliens, not anti-immigrant? My mom used to watch you and think you were very handsome. She is disappointed but not surprised. I'm bilingual Latinos. Great. My Twitter account fell. I don't care. He's trying to apologize. And since he's apologized, he is now forever attacked. White House stonewalls as Puerto Rico aid runs dry. Puerto Rico has mishandled so much of their money, aid, due to government corruption, that money is now running out, and there's not a lot we can do. How about instead of having white commentators on to say that Hispanics have to work harder on assimilation, tries getting Latinos commentators on to discuss issues impacting our community. Now, if the Latino community is separate from the American community, then you've just reiterated what Tom Brokaw said. If Latinos are not part of the greater American community, then perhaps what he said is correct. Why did no one on the panel say, Tom, that's problematic? Because at the very least, it's problematic. These comments are just straight up racist. Assimilate. Now, Simone D. Sanders, assimilation is how countries work. It is how cultures work. If you move to France, if you move to England, if you move to China, Japan, anywhere, you should try to assimilate into the country. That is not racist. It is racist to attack people based on their race. And Tom Brokaw warns Hispanic fueled by intolerant Republicans. None of what you're going for is in this. Yeah, you can just read these. All this, look at this. It's all that's pretty funny. We are Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. That's a Star Trek reference. I like that. That's funny. Why is no one reporting that Tom was reporting what Republicans said to him? He was reporting that for a reason for their racism. So this lady here is saying that it's not Tom. He just said racist stuff. It wasn't racist because racists said it to him. No, he was using hearsay to make a point. It's very common in narrative storytelling to do that. Yeah, no. None of this. This is a huge nothing story. Tom Brokaw said that Latinos should assimilate and become part of the country because on every major statistic they end up essentially tied in with white people. It's very unique that this has been the issue. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and thank you for watching.